Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar, where Deacon Harold and guests explore our Catholic faith through passionate discussion. Get ready as Deacon Harold and his diverse guests bring an array of knowledge and life to Catholic teaching. You are watching Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar.
Hello, and welcome to the Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar. I am your host, Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers. It's great to be with you. And this week I have a wonderful guest. I get to meet so many people in my travels and in the different speaking engagements that I do. And not too long ago, I spoke at an apologetics camp for teenagers in Idaho. And one of the speakers who was there with me was a guy, McCauley. I've not heard of him before, but we got a chance to sit down and talk over dinner. And we had a great conversation. He has a really great story. He's doing tremendous work in the field of theology of the body. And I just wanted to introduce him to all of you and have a great conversation, not only about his life and his faith journey, but about the importance of the theology of the body in the life of the church today. So welcome, Brendan, to Walk by Faith Wednesday webinars.
Thank you, Deacon. It's good to be with you.
All right. So Brendan, so just give us a little bit about your background, maybe your faith journey. I mean, were you always Catholic? Were you a convert? And you're young. So I think a lot of parents who are watching, a lot of young adults who are watching are going to want to hear that. Did you have any struggles with your faith as a teenager, and how did you come to be able to really flourish in your faith now as a young adult?
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, I had some struggles, but I grew up Catholic, been Catholic my whole life. I kind of say I was like a Pharisee in high school. Pretty good looking on the outside, going to mass, praying, not going crazy in the party life. So all my friends and family thought I was the good boy, but inside the heart was a little bit dirty. So it wasn't really until I'd go to mass on Sundays, but it wasn't until my senior year, my older brother, my only brother, had a brain injury, 2 years older than me. He got hit in the head with a softball in college and ultimately had to have 4 surgeries. But that moment woke me up to, I'm not invincible. I need to take my life seriously, my faith seriously. If I'm Catholic and I believe it's the truth, then I need to go all in and then share it with others. So that's what began my journey, my freshman, sophomore year of college. I joined a fraternity, so I was still living a little bit of a double life, but I was just reading constantly. And it wasn't until middle of college I made the decision, okay, this is truth, and I need to share it with everyone, and I can't be living a double life. I got to be all in. And then going to the theology of the body part of my story was my junior year of college. I did an internship with the Theology of the Body Institute with President Christopher West. And that's what changed absolutely everything. I was a business major in college, and I got exposed to this teaching. And I was really, I think I shared this with you on the camp, but I cried for 4 months straight because the words of Jeremiah, I will put the law on your heart, became real for me. The doctrine wasn't just over here. It was flowing from within. And I was like, this is real. The church is real. The church isn't crazy. And so that moment, I decided I want to share this teaching of John Paul II with as many people as possible. And then through slow, deep conversions of yeses and yeses, I went to get my master's at the John Paul II Institute for Theology for Marriage and Family. I've been working closely with the Theology of the Body Institute and Christopher West. And and today I work on a college campus. I'm the director of formation and men's ministry at Washington State University, doing a lot of teaching on theology of the body. And yeah, that's kind of in short.
All right, awesome. Now, what do you see? There's just so many young people who have challenges. I mean, I have 4 kids, all young adults now, a 23-year-old daughter, 21-year-old daughter, and 18-year-old twins who are just starting college now, right? And there's so many challenges in our culture today. We have issues of outside of the church, issues like race, um, race relations, pornography, transgender stuff, the moral relativism of the culture, and then even stuff within the church. What's happening in Germany, with the bishops over there, the kind of uneven, sometimes confusing magisterium of Pope Francis, the even over the vaccine, things like that. You have, Catholics on one side of the issue, Catholics on the other side of the issue. There's so much that's dividing us right now. As someone that is a young adult yourself and works with young adults on a college campus, what do you see as how I think young adults can really help to kind of bridge this gap, because I think their passion and enthusiasm, kind of what we saw at the camp, I think can carry forward into the life of young adults. But I think some of the challenges on the college campus, you have these professors that are filling your head with basically nonsense. What can young adults do to fight against it, to stay strong in their faith, especially now we're at the beginning of the college season, right? And I think it'd be very helpful both for young adults and for parents, they maybe give some advice to their kids about how to stay strong in their faith in this culture today.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually trying to do a little YouTube video on actually that exact question. How do you keep your faith in college? And as I shared with you about my brother's brain injury, the first question is one, you have to, in college, you're no longer, your parents no longer say you got to go to mass. You're on your own. You got to make faith your own. And we all have to cope with the question Jesus asks, who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? And if you say he's God, which if you're a Christian or Catholic, you're going to say he's God. And then he says, come and follow me. If you don't follow him, the question is why? Is he not love? Are you afraid that he may take your whole entire life away? So the first thing is you got to make faith your own, but God is love. So you can surrender yourself to him. And then secondly is John Paul II said, you need to frequent the sacraments in prayer. If you are in intimate dialogue with God, you're not going to have a strong relationship. And then also community. You become who you hang out with. That's a truth. When I was in my fraternity, I thought I could keep my faith, and a lot of them thought I was the good Catholic, but it was a double life. What really changed was when I started to hang out with people who wanted to be saints, wanted to go all in. It was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you do become who you surround yourself with. And so yeah, those are kind of the three main tips I'd say with keeping your faith in college. It's so easy where I work. So the church is right here, fraternity right here, fraternity right here, fraternity right there, all surrounded by us. And we have great conversations with all the guys. And this is brilliant. My friend, we just celebrated St. Augustine on Friday. And my roommate was hanging out Friday night with the priest, and they were meeting and greeting all the fraternity guys. And my roommate said, it seems like all Greek Row is celebrating St. Augustine's life. They're all celebrating his past life. And that's what they're doing. But what they want most is the Eucharist, the wine, the true drink. This is the apostles in Pentecost. They looked like they were drunk. They were intoxicated by the Spirit. That's what they're longing for. They're longing for that union. Christopher West says that the flip side of the coin of the Eucharist and the Mass is a fraternity party. It's the old saying, you're looking for love in all the wrong places. And Augustine, one of my favorite quotes, he says, the man who is lost in his passions is less lost than the man who has lost passion. I think a lot of Christians in the church have lost passion, or they just stuff all their passions, where the fraternity parties, when it seems attractive, is they're letting those passions out, but they're aiming them in the wrong direction. Augustine's conversion was the reorientation of his passions to the feast that fulfills. And this is Father Cantalamessa. He says the new evangelization must begin with eros, which is that deep longing for infinity that we feel in our bones. And I think that's what we need preaching more, is that we hunger, we thirst for the feast, for the wedding feast. And that's what Jesus says, come to me who thirst, and I will, and drink and drink. It's a banquet. Yeah, I think college student, we all need to hear that more.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I was a police chief on a college campus for 11 years. So I've seen a lot of that stuff myself as well.
Mhm.
You know, and I think when I think about what you said, Brendan, which was brilliant. What the image that kept coming to my mind was the image of Jesus and the woman at the well. You know, because if you look at that basically short encounter that they had, to me, that's the whole thing about evangelization. You know, because first of all, Jesus did everything he wasn't supposed to do. He was alone with a woman. He was meeting with his Samaritan, but because of the animosity between the Jews and Samaritans, they didn't share anything, including food and drink. He asked her for a drink. I mean, he's not supposed to be doing any of this. And so she respectfully calls him sir, right? Then she goes, oh, then when Jesus starts revealing more, oh, I see you're a prophet. You know, then, oh, are you the Messiah? And then, then she goes out and tells her friends, I found the one, so you see this progression from, from just, she doesn't know who he is. And now her whole life has been, completely turned over to him. What do you see as some of the ways that young people can do that with the theology of the body? Because obviously it's not just about sex, but also about the drinking and all the other things that young people are involved in, and the beauty of that teaching. And you talk about Christopher West. I mean, I know people who literally their marriages were saved because they read something by Christopher West. It completely transformed the way they think and approach their entire married life. So how can theology of the body play an important role in the lives of young people today who are searching for truth, the truth that sets them free to love?
Yeah, it is something that at the Theology of the Body Institute, Christopher West and Bill Donahue, another teacher, they say this theology of the body is another way to say Catholicism 101 or Humanities 101. It's answering the question, what does it mean to be human? And how can I live an authentic life, a happy life? So yeah, it's the basic answer. What does it mean to be human? And it's journeying first off into the original plan. What was the original plan? And how did we deviate from that? And the experience that we now have with the fall, some of our desires and inclinations aren't normal. And the world will say, if you have it, it's normal. But it has to undergo a purification. So learning about who we are is what sets us free. The truth, Jesus says, is what sets us free. For me, when I heard this vision of what it means to be human, and it's not if you read one book, oh man, your life's just totally changed. It could happen that way, but we need to kind of drink in this truth of what it means to be human. Because for me, a lot, what I tell people about my conversion story was I thought men couldn't help themselves but to lust and to objectify women. Do your best and try to wait until marriage. That was what I thought. And for the first time in my life, when I began to kind of soak in the truth of who I am, I began to see everyone, woman, as images of God. It gave me a reverence. It gave me this profound excitement and joy and freedom within myself. So I think it's very critical, especially in our world today, because of all the LGBTQ issues and the attack on marriage and family. No one wants to get married anymore. The marriage rate in the US and Canada in the past 50 years has gone down 50%. No one's getting married anymore. No one wants to have children. There's a deep attack now. And I think this theology of the body sheds light on all of that. And it's what sets us free. And so, I think especially in our times, it's extremely important.
Yeah, because what you're really talking about is conversion, because conversion, metanoia in Greek, or shub, in Hebrew doesn't just mean, it means to turn your mind around. You know, you're heading in one direction and now you're heading in a completely other direction because you've had this encounter with Christ. And so often we talk about evangelization, which means good news, but really what it is life-changing news. For the Romans, yeah, they used evangelium, which means good news, except when Caesar proclaimed news, because the news from the king could change your life. And as you pointed out, we serve the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. You know, so that encounter with Christ is not just good news, it's life-changing news. And this is news that young adults need to hear, you know, and they're deafened by the cacophony of noises that are thrown at them in the culture. You know, and I think there's a beautiful link between this reflection on theology of the body and Eucharistic adoration, you know, because that is the body of Christ, you know, that we're adoring, and in the silence where we listen to God's voice. So can you talk a little bit about that connection, and how we can encourage more silence and the connection between adoration and theology of the body?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, what you said about, yeah, all my experience I had, my conversion, encounter with theology of the body, is just a conversion. It's an encounter with the Word made flesh, where John Paul II says theology enters the body through the main door. So yeah, it's the encounter with the Word made flesh. Yeah, what got to my mind was, I mean, just the Eucharist in general. You know, John Paul II says the Eucharist is the sacrament of the bridegroom and the bride. It's where we become one in the flesh with God himself, where he gives us his body, blood, soul, and divinity. And when I understood that, at least just the Eucharist and reception of the Eucharist, that changes everything about how you see the Eucharist, how you see God's love for you. And then that tells us about what adoration is, and silence. It's meant to be, this quote comes to mind from John Paul II. He says, prayer is meant to be a dialogue with God that, this is kind of paraphrasing, where you become wholly possessed by the Spirit of God, total possession by infinity, by divinity. And this is what the mystics and saints experienced. And John Paul II says, we often look at the mystics and saints who are levitating in the roof. Padre Pio with his stigmata and levitating out of his chair in Mass. We often think of them like those are, you know, extraordinary people. No one can experience that. And okay, they are, but he says that's an outward sign of what we're all called to inwardly. We're all called to be mystics in a sense. We're all called to be wholly possessed by eternal love. And adoration, that silence, that's when, I don't know if you've ever read The Power of Silence by Cardinal Robert Serra, but that's where the Lord speaks. That's where we calm ourselves and we allow the Lord to speak to our hearts and to woo our hearts into himself. So it all has to do with, because the theology of the body, John Paul II says marriage, it's really giving to like the spousal analogy, that the great analogy of the union of man and woman is a window into the mystery of God's love for us. And this changes adoration. You know, adoratio, the Latin means to the mouth. It's kind of like an intimate kiss, you could say, with God. And for me, that changed everything. We want to be loved Father, Son, absolutely. God is Father, but there's something in us that wants to give ourselves entirely to another, and for another person to give themselves entirely to you. And that's the spousal analogy. And for me, that really changed my prayer, especially even adoration.
Oh, that's awesome. Beautiful. You know, and I do highly recommend Cardinal Sarah's book on silence, which is phenomenal. And also there's I recommend for young adults particularly to watch. It should be on YouTube. It's called Into Great Silence. It's a movie about a group of monks, the order founded by Saint Bruno, the Carthusians, who are basically hermits that live in community. And there's hardly any talking. The movie's about 2 hours long. There's hardly any talking at all. And it's one of the few movies that I actually own because I was just so enthralled by the incredible beauty of silence in that movie. and we're talking about St. Joseph too. St. Joseph was a man who didn't have any, there's no quotes from Joseph in the scripture at all. So in a sense, he was silenced. And so this year of St. Joseph, I've been encouraging men to enter the silence of Joseph, in order to discover their true manhood and their relationship with God. So, Brendan, I mean, you're doing a lot of great things in your life. What are you doing specifically in your job on campus to not only to sustain the faith of the Catholics who are there, because you're in a secular university, but also what are you doing to maybe attract some people that, maybe not outwardly thinking about the church? Are you getting people coming in, or how's that working?
Absolutely. So our main target are the Greeks. They're our neighbors. We're right on Greek Hill. Our target is the Greeks. So last year, we had a couple events for them, some exciting events. We did a big cornhole tournament. We did a big spike ball tournament. We had this was during COVID, when things were opening up a little bit. We had 70 people at least participate at different times. So we were able to do social distancing and stuff. But we would go, our team here would walk around Greek Row handing them flyers. And we did one event on church teaching on sex, or how good is sex to the Greeks. And we said there's free ribs, and they were, these people all different backgrounds, religious views, and we were like, yeah, come on in. And we got 30 people to come to this little event. And I gave a talk on church teaching, and they were really surprised, and it went really well. So we're trying to put together small events for people who are just not Catholic or not showing up to the church. Like I said before, a lot of times when they do, this was actually brilliant. I'm going to share this story instead. We did adoration outside in our parking lot with all the Greek students just walking by on their Friday night parties. And we were worshiping and praying during that time. And there are people who would stop and just praise for 10 minutes. And it was unbelievable. And the Spirit was moving. And so, yeah, we do a lot of outreach to them.
That's brilliant. And I love the beauty of the simplicity of your approach. Attract people with food, attract people with beauty. That's something that Bishop Barron talks about a lot, using beauty as a way to attract. And I think that's what made his Catholicism series so popular and so well accepted, even by non-Christians. They showed it on public television, because it was the beauty that attracts. So that's wonderful. And I hope, that eventually God will start to move, because all you're doing is planting seeds. I say this all the time. We make the work of evangelization too hard by thinking we can convert people. But I love the method that you're doing, Brendan, because all you're doing is you're throwing seeds, and like Paul says, I seeded, Apollos watered, God gave the yield. So all you're doing is throwing those seeds and allowing God then to give that person, to nourish that seed, so that the faith at least begins to grow a little bit, maybe push through that soil a little bit, maybe through that rocky, thorny heart, the seed of faith can begin to work. And I think that's the way we need to do it. Because honestly, I think at the parish level, sometimes we program people to death. We think if we just do this program and we just send people through a program, but if they're not truly encountering Jesus, if they truly don't know who Jesus is, then there's going to be a disconnect between the faith that they learn and the everyday experience of their life every day. There's a disconnect and a chasm. And what we need to do is bring people to a deeper love and understanding.
Can I share one more little story that's been happening? This is also an off-campus deal. It's with actually the football team. We've been working with, me and the priest have been working with 4 or 5 guys on the football team. A couple of them are going to get drafted. They're big lineman guys. And we've been working with them the past year. And this one of them has been having this deep conversion. And the coaches are freaking out, what's going on with this guy? He used to be all angry if some of the guys hit him, he'd grab him and throw him to the ground. right after plays, and he had a little bit of a temper, and he's like, I don't get angry anymore. And the coaches are seeing this huge kind of like different, like, what's going on with him? I want this for my whole team. And we actually, the coach is actually bringing us in to help with their staff and their team, to work with them and do Bible studies with them. And it's actually unbelievable what is happening, specifically with the football team, and they're wanting us to help out with others.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great story. Because everybody has this thing in their mind about football players on campus. I mean, I went to Notre Dame, right? So hello, but that's a great story, because it shows that what you were saying before, Brendan, is true, that the truth attracts. That there's something there that the heart is longing for, and all we have to do is say yes and be open to what the Lord is trying to do in our hearts and in our lives. And that starts with just extending that invitation, that comes with just making the effort, because I think it's a lot of time we're scared to do that because we're going to be rejected, or people are going to laugh at us and make fun of us. Well, guess what? They made fun of and laughed at Jesus all the way to Calvary, but it was through that suffering that he was able to attain for us eternal salvation. So just a beautiful work that you're doing there. So what was the future hold in store for you? What do you, are you going to be on campus for a while? What kind of plans do you have moving forward?
Yep. So I continue, the priest is allowing me here to do speaking engagements on the side. So I've been doing that here and there and trying to develop my speaking and teaching. My plan is to be connected with the Theology of the Body Institute, with Christopher West and them, hoping to work closely with them. The goal is to want to teach and speak and write. I shared with you a book that I'm working on currently, where I'm interviewing people from all around the world with different backgrounds and religious views, asking them 6 questions. What is a human being? What is marriage? What is love? What is sex? What is freedom? And where did you get your beliefs? So this is a big project I've been working on. And so my hopes is it becomes a book. And then, maybe right now I'll probably be here for 1 more year. We'll see what the Lord wants after that. But my hopes is to keep developing my teaching and speaking and writing.
All right. Excellent. And do you have a website? I mean, how can people get a hold of you and keep in touch with you? Or if they want to book you for a speaking engagement, how do they do that?
Yeah. So Facebook is I have Facebook and Instagram. Those are kind of my social media, as well as a YouTube. They could either contact me typically through Facebook. I don't have an official website right now, but through that would be fine, or else I could also give my email to you as well.
All right. Yeah, I'll make sure that there's a link at the bottom, so people can definitely get in touch with you. Because I'm sure after watching this, a lot of people will be interested to have you maybe come to their campus or speak to their young adult group at a parish about just the incredible, beautiful, rich teaching of theology of the body, and I know you work with Christopher West and stuff like that, but just, I mean, what's beautiful about our faith is that there's so many different perspectives and the beauty of the truth. It can be presented in so many different ways because we're all different individuals teaching the same truth. But, so the way you present the truth is not going to be the way that Christopher West presents the truth. And so our young people may hear it differently. It may hit their heart differently, hit their mind differently. And so have that different experience of Christ in their life. So that's absolutely awesome. So Brendan, well, thank you so much, man. It was great. Absolutely great having you with me on the Walk by Faith Wednesday webinars. You want to leave any last words of advice or encouragement for the people that are watching today?
Yeah, the words that come to my mind are: do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be Catholic, to stand up to your faith. Do not be afraid to live it out. I promise you, something that my priest has been telling me is we have to tell people, especially the Greeks, that Jesus wants to take you on an adventure. It's an adventure to be a Catholic. So do not be afraid.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Brendan. It's great to have you with you. And we'll have you back on down the road here to maybe talk about a particular aspect of the theology of the theology of the body that's important, especially for our young adults. So thank you, Brendan, and thank you all of you for joining me for another episode of the Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar. I'm Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers. Until next time, take care, my friends, and may God bless you richly and abundantly.
Thank you for watching Deacon Harold's Walk by Faith Wednesday webinar. Tune in next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for more.